Okay, I think I got my GPS fixed. So, I'm on my way again to go pick up my Mustang GT. Well, I'm on my way to look at it. If it all checks out, I'm going to buy it and return this or trade it in or whatever they want me to do. And hopefully it does check out, because per my last video, I am a little bit unhappy with this car. So I guess the next time you see me, I will hopefully be in a Mustang GT. All right. So it has been about, I would say, 20 hours since I got my new Mustang. I was gonna film a video of the first time I ever drove it on my way home, but I was still getting used to the clutch and it was a little bit of a learning curve. So let's see. I just want to do just a video kind of for myself, what it's like going from an Ecoboost Mustang to 6-speed automatic to a 5-liter 6-speed manual. It's pretty different. It's a lot different, and let's get going here, and I'll kind of explain what I think the main differences are. And I mean, obviously it's obvious what the differences are, but as far as driving and everything, just the whole feel of the car goes, it's way different. It's completely different. It doesn't feel like the car I just got out of. It absolutely does not. Still getting used to the clutch here. It's a little trying to rev match. So the first thing I noticed is whenever you would start up my Ecoboost, it sounded like a Prius. It sounded like a Tesla. I mean, there's no sound whatsoever. The only real sound is between like 3,000 and 4,000 RPM, and it sounded pretty good. You know, for what it was. And I noticed that this, as soon as you start it up, the whole car just shakes a little bit and bounces, and it just feels more raw. I don't know how to describe it any other way. The driveline feels a lot heavier, and it does feel like the nose of the car is a little bit heavier. It doesn't feel quite as nimble, I will say that. It's still really good. Obviously, I really like it and would prefer this, but so far, everything, this is the base model interior. My other one was a premium package, and I gotta say, as far as right now, I don't miss it. The stereo, I had the Shaker, not the Shaker 500, but just the regular Shaker sound system in it. And I don't know if I'm just crazy or if I don't listen to the right kind of music for it, but it sounds the same. It sounds exactly the same. Hey, ooh, V6. I think it's a V6. I think the Ecoboost actually just have the pony, and the V6s have the tri-bar logo on them. I like, I don't know. I would rather see somebody in the Ecoboost, because the V6s, I think they're kind of a dying platform, and I don't know. I'm sure they're a great car. I'm sure they're really reliable. I actually owned a V6 Mustang before, an S197 V6. I really liked it. It wasn't very fast or anything, but it was pretty sporty. I'm just driving around my neighborhood here in Dallas. I've been driving for a little bit, trying to get a feel of the car, and so far it's a lot of fun. It has a little bit wider. Dude, the tires on this that they put on from the dealership are really, really good. and they hook really well. I've not taken traction control off, and I've not really tried to get on it or race it or anything, because I don't want to be one of those guys. But so far they hook really, really well, and I think they're just like 275s or 265s or something, Pilot Sport Cup 2s or something. And it is weird though, because I always like to used to like look at my boost gauge. I don't have one on here. I do have a vacuum gauge. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be reading with that, because I assume that 20 is bad and that 0 is like no vacuum, which is good, but when I give it gas, it goes up like there's less vacuum, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it is what it is. And something I do find weird, I will say, and the Ecoboost did this too, if you give it some beans at really low RPM, it just fattens out. I mean, it will just peg itself at 10 at your fuel ratio, which I find kind of strange. And I know obviously you're not supposed to be like flooring it at a low RPM, but I figured that it would at least try its best to stay in the 14:1 fuel ratio area, but apparently not. And even when I get up to about 4,000 RPM, not even floored, it still is pretty fat. And I don't know why that is. I'm sure Ford has a pretty good reason for it. It's probably just so it's safe, because maybe at the low RPM, having it leaned out wouldn't be that great. So far, I really like how notchy the shifter is. I'm coming from a 5-speed Tremec T5 myself that I'm used to, and this is just really, it just feels the same. It really feels like my old Mustang. Like, I have a 2009 Mustang back home, and it feels surprisingly similar. I was expecting this to be a totally different car, and other than the electric steering, it really is. I mean, the electric steering is kind of weird. I just leave it on sport, but I don't know. I don't know if there's any benefits to the electric power steering versus the regular power steering. Maybe it's less draw on the engine, or maybe it's more efficient, or maybe they last longer. But I don't know. That just to me seems like one more thing that can go bad when the car gets old, which this car has 50,000 miles on it, which I'm not super thrilled about. But these cars right now are so expensive. The amount I paid for this car 3 years ago, I could have got like a stage 3 Roush with 800 horsepower. Like, the market has gone up an astronomical amount in cars, because currently at the time of filming, we're just still coming out of a pandemic, and quite frankly, we have a silicon shortage going on. So all new car manufacturers have pretty much halted production. Yeah, I'm starting to get used to the shifter here. It is weird having a reverse lockout and reverse being up here, because I'm used to it being down here in my 5-speed, but it's good. Funny, when I got this car, when at the dealership, I was there and I traded in my Ecoboost, whatever. I didn't trade it, I actually returned it to get into this. And we're walking outside, and he's getting ready to pull it around for me, and whoever drove it, in the time that I test drove it to signing the paperwork, someone smacked a curb so hard in this, and I imagine it's probably just some kid who doesn't know how to drive a manual, but my entire driver's side front wheel is completely curbed and destroyed. So I already have to bring it back to the dealership for them to get that fixed, as well as that's bad too. I don't know if someone was like drifting this puppy or what, but the bushings in this are completely shot. So that's also cool. And something else I noticed, and I hope it's not the case, is there's a bunch of scratches up here. I don't know if you can see it, probably not. I think that somebody had a tuner right here because I was so scratched up. And it wouldn't surprise me because the engine, and I've never driven a 5-liter, I've never even driven a Coyote before, but the engine feels a little bit worn out. Just like a little bit worn out. And I don't know if that's just normal or what, but it does, yeah, I don't know how to explain it any other way. And I'm wondering if someone just either raced it, because another thing is whenever I got it, it was on the trip fuel marker, and it said that I was averaging about 10 miles to the gallon. And I'm like, okay, you know, someone, obviously if you own this car, you're gonna get on it a little bit. And I figured maybe it just really does get that bad of gas mileage. But I've not been hard on it. I haven't floored it. I haven't raced it. I haven't done anything. But I mean, what do you call it? I've been spiritly driving it. And I'm at 15.1 miles per gallon. So how hard was somebody driving this before I owned it that it was at 10 miles to the gallon? Yeah, third and fourth I'm doing pretty good at, but the rest of them, still a little bit of a learning curve. And the transmission makes a ton of noise. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that or whatever. I've never been in an S550 before. I've never even sat in an S550 other than my Ecoboost and this one. Where I'm from up north, you don't see these cars a lot. And if you do, you're probably pretty wealthy. And that's not because these are overly expensive cars. Well, now they are, because this was astronomically expensive. It's because up north, if you have a muscle car, you have to have a truck as well, because you're not getting through the winters in a slammed S550. You're just not. So you don't see a lot of these where I'm from. So it does feel, it's really cool to be driving one, my dream car, even though I paid through the nose for it. Hey, it's my gym. I'm gonna head to the gym a little bit later. Right now I'm just kind of driving around. I like driving the car so far. I will say it is a little bit of a pain in the ass, because here in Dallas, especially on my way to work, and I do use this as my daily driver, which maybe I shouldn't, but traffic is terrible, and it's always backed up about the time that I get to work. I work second shift, so it is really shitty driving a manual in this traffic. And part of me does wish I would have got the 10 speed, but I think in the future I'm really going to appreciate that I got the manual, because I think eventually you're going to stop making manuals. Maybe not, but hey, it's C7. Shout out to Clee. Whenever I got this too, I was also told that there was an exhaust on it. And as you can hear, there's not. I think they took it back off whenever it got to the dealership, because I ordered this from Kansas. And when I did, they called me and were like, yo, you gotta sign like a waiver, or you gotta sign off on these aftermarket upgrades or whatever. And I'm like, well, what's done to it? And the dude, I don't think he knew much about cars. He said, well, there's an exhaust on it. I'm like, okay. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but hey, look at it. Ooh. Is that a Shelby GT350? I think it is. We'll go around. Probably won't catch up to him though. Yeah, this car's just a ton of fun. You can tell that the exhaust note is really prevalent between like 25 and 3500 RPM, which is like kind of about daily driving. So I think they really just tuned it for around there and to be quiet, because at idle you can't hear it. It sounds just like my Ecoboost, which I'll take this over an Ecoboost any day of the week. I mean, it sounded not, I mean, for a inline 4 turbo, I mean, come on, man. Those are really nice cars. They're really cool. And I wouldn't ever knock anybody for owning one. I think the problem, like in my last video, is that with Mustangs, it's like if you don't get the GT, basically everyone just assumes, oh, well, you're too poor to afford the GT. Even when that's not always the case. Like some people like the Ecoboost platform. Some people really like, you know, the daily drivability of it, and not having to worry about racing everybody all the time, because I mean, everybody tries to race you in this car. Not everybody, but everybody with a muscle car typically is going to like rev their engine at you at a stoplight, or I'd say 50% of the time. And they don't. It happened in my Ecoboost quite a bit, but I was always like, bro, listen, I don't know what you got under the hood, but I'm gonna lose. So I just maybe just don't try to race me. Much appreciated. Oh, this guy's going straight. I'll go straight. I'll pull up next to him. He's got a sick car. I want to look at it. Is it? Shit, it's a GT350. Ooh. Dude, I almost could have got one. I almost could have. It was almost not too expensive. I really considered it. It would have been round about a third, about 30% more than this car cost. And I really just didn't. Oh, look at that. Oh, that sounds good. Oh, that is such a beautiful car. Someday. Because these things, I think right now, are going for round about 60 to 70 grand. And which is a lot of money for a Mustang, especially because there's a lot that you can get for that price. And I don't know, the GT350, the Voodoo platform is so new, and I don't think that it's been like tried and tested long enough for it. Because like if you ever watch Gavin from It's Just words, Gavin from It's Just a Six, he bought a GT350 with the Voodoo engine and ended up finding out that it's like the engine was just toast. It had like no compression in cylinder 8, and when he got under, I mean, the sleeve was just destroyed, absolutely destroyed. And I don't know what causes that. I don't know if that's just from getting beat on, or if that's from what. I don't know. But there's also a YouTube channel called Women Driven. I haven't watched very much of her videos because I'm not a huge fan. It's not for me. But she also had a GT350 that had a problem with cylinder 8 and cylinder 4. And I think, if I remember right, in one of Gavin's videos, he said that, and maybe he was talking about a Coyote, but these things have problems with cooling on cylinder 8. Oh, he's turning. Too bad, buddy. We could have raced. Nah, dude, I'd lose my ass. I don't know. I'd like to get this dynoed and see what it runs. See how worn out it really is. I mean, I know 50,000 doesn't sound like a lot to put on a car, but when you're driving a car as hard as I assume that because this is a one-owner vehicle, as far as my understanding goes. This is one owner. He had it. He bought a brand new, put 50,000 miles on it, sold it, didn't want it. So if he was driving it hard, he was probably driving it hard for all 50,000 miles, which is okay, because that to me says that if anything was to break, it would have already broke. But sometimes not. Sometimes not. I don't know where we're at, to be honest with you. I just moved down here and I'm still kind of learning everywhere. This is such a beautiful car. I got the right color too. I'm telling you what, pictures don't do it justice. This car is gorgeous. It's not perfect. The paint's not perfect like I was hoping it would be. It's got a bunch of dings and a bunch of scratches, whatever. And the biggest thing that pisses me off is it's just so disappointing. I wanted to get it color corrected and ceramic coated, but whenever I started looking around the car, these idiots, I don't understand, they use the color match markers on the paint over the clear coat, and it's like, why? Because now it's like you can't buff that out. I mean, it's paint. You can buff a clear coat. Like if there's a scratch or ding, just buff out the clear coat. If it's that deep that it goes into the paint, like you could just get it repainted. It's not that expensive. I mean, it is that, but for a car like this, you would want to go the extra mile, I would think, to actually get it done properly. Give it some beans here. Holy shit, dude. This car is nuts. Oh, I thought this was a road. To be honest with you, I really thought this was a road. Oh boy. Oh, I'm already getting the cops called on me. Oh, look at nice car. Ooh, looks like I went down the right road. What do we got here? GT? GT350? That's a good color too. What is it? It's the GT. Ooh, that is such a nice color. BMR. It's got it lowered and everything. I keep forgetting that reverse isn't all the way to the right and forward. Nice car, dude. That looks like, oh man, that's a 2017. Or that looks really nice for a 17. Okay, let's see if I can find my way home. This is absolutely my dream car. I cannot believe I'm driving this car. I remember when these cars first came out, I had a poster up on my bedroom wall of one of these. I mean, it was like lowered, and it had the GT350 wing on it. I think that was before the GT350 ever came out. But I swore to myself I'd own these one day. I wish I would have bought one a couple years ago when they weren't so expensive, but I really couldn't afford one back then, and now I'm finally in a position I can. I might as well. I only ever drove these in my Forza games, like, oof. I don't remember. I don't know where I'm at, but it doesn't matter. Oh, my phone is probably boiling. That's not bad. I think I'm finally starting to get a hang of the shifter. It's taken me a minute. Well, I think that's gonna conclude this video for now. Kind of just me rambling on for a little bit, but I need to get back home. I don't know where I'm at. I gotta use my GPS. So I will see you guys later.